Unveiling Beauty. Ammon, how are you today?
Doing well, my friend, back here in Chicago, as you can see by the beautiful artwork behind me. How are you down there in Florida, my friend?
I'm doing okay. How's it been back in Chicago? I hear there's a lot of unrest there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any different than the rest of the country. Maybe a little bit more escalated in some of these like major metropolitan areas, but yeah, it's a different world right now. Trying the best to like look at the positive and see, but it is kind of it's I won't lie, it feels a little scary, you know.
Yeah, no, it is definitely unprecedented times in our world. And, you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't actually touch on this at the beginning of the show. Today's show is all about really what's happening around us, but in the industry, but at the same time, it's affecting many people's lives. And, you know, I found a post by an illustrator that reposted actually on Instagram today that I thought just kind of summed up how I feel about the current situation. And it's two people hugging, and it says, "We are the change," right? And my post was just all around like, let's you and I be the change. Let's all of us as a community be the change. Let's love each other. Let's support each other. And that's when we really win as a society, as a community, as an industry. And that's kind of where my head and heart has been through this whole thing. And I hope that more and more people could think about it and realize that what is our differences is what makes us beautiful. And our job in this industry is to make people beautiful and to make people feel beautiful. And this show was created as a place to come together, talk about what's happening in the industry, be a safe place for each other to share our knowledge and share what's happening so that we can get back to a new sense of normal in a really healthy way. So I hope that everybody is at home and safe and peaceful. And I hope we continue to see peace going forward. But I just thought that, hey, you know what? In the current environment that we're in, we can't just jump into talking about hair and how we're going to make people look beautiful if we don't at least put a pin in the current moment that we're in.
Yeah. And Nick, I'm so glad that you just kicked it off that way, because I won't go further, but I will just say I'm grateful that you were excited about opening the show on that tone, just to make sure we directly just address it and call out the elephant in the room and just say, hey, here's what it is, because we are more than just, the beauty industry. We are, human people, just like everybody else in the world. And today, with the subject matter being real talk, it felt absolutely like it would be, like you said, a big miss if we had an episode called Real Talk and didn't talk about something that was very
what's real, right,
in the moment, right? So an exciting episode, though, on the lighter side of things. We do have a great cast joining us today. A couple of guests that are very well known in the industry, who know their stuff and are going to get real, as we say, with us about, here we are in the industry. It's time to get back to work. What are you feeling? How are you getting prepared? Start little by little, moment by moment, opening back up with all kinds of different regulations and all these things. And so we wanted to make sure we had an episode today, right, Nick, where we could talk about and explore what are we doing to be prepared, not only physically and with all the right tools, but also emotionally and with business savvy. So excited today about our show.
I am as well. I think we have two really amazing people. We have Michael Sean Corby and we have Danielle Kiesling, two of my favorite people to really talk about what is now kind of the new normal as we go into the normal, right? Some salons are opening up, some have opened, some guests are dying to get into the salon, some have already received services. So it's a great way to just kind of talk about all those things, because if your salon hasn't opened up yet, how do you get ready and what is that new normal going to feel like? And talk about some of the sentiment out there around some of the guests and stylists who have been able to get back to work and what that feels like for them. So I think it's a perfect topic.
Absolutely. And you know what? So I will say that our first guest, salon owner, educator, platform artist, award-winning stylist, she has worn many different hats and understands the industry from a lot of different perspectives, which is why I think that she's very appropriate to have on the show today. I have a short little video to introduce you to, just in case you didn't know, Miss Danielle Kiesling.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, pro team member for Ulta Beauty, Miss Danielle Kiesling. I'm not even going to go down the other list of your other titles. We're just going to keep it about the pro team today. How are you, Danielle?
Good, Ammon. How are you guys?
Good. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you guys. I miss you.
I miss you too.
Miss
I was
your
so happy.
faces.
I know. I was so happy the other night I got to catch up for a couple minutes at least, because we've been talking about how much we wanted to catch up for like the last 3 months, and it's literally taken us 3 months to find five minutes to catch up.
Who knew we were going to be this busy when we were in a situation like this, right?
So true. It's so true.
It's good. We're there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There sure is. So before we get into the light at the end of the tunnel, what have you been up to? I mean, I see that you're working on house projects. I see that you're working with your horse. I see that you're on the beach. I see that you're helping industry. Talk to me about what have you been doing to really stay focused during this time?
You know, in our industry, we all work so incredibly hard, and as a hairdresser, we're constantly giving, and we always put other people first. And that's kind of like an industry standard for hairstylists. And, you know, this whole situation has been something that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I don't think, you know, there's been many talks that we've all sat around over drinks and said, gosh, if we had this time, we would do this, or if we had that time, we would do this. And, you know, this was something that obviously I would never, and I hope we never have to go through again. But because we did have the time, I was very strong to reflect back onto all those talks and say, you know, what are the things that I need to accomplish? What are the things that are stressing me out? What are the things that I can take this time that's not a really positive situation and turn it into something positive and something uplifting? And then how can I take that and inspire others to do the same? And that's why during this whole quarantine situation, I've been very, I guess, with a little chance, because as I know everyone in the world is going through different situations, I've been very transparent and authentic about what I'm doing, in hopes that people would see past the, oh, well, she's so lucky with her current situation, and take positive reflection from it. And it has worked. You know, I haven't gotten any negative feedback, and I've had a ton of people reach out to me and, you know, just vent or express things to me, or ask for advice, or, you know, ask for, you know, just a little acknowledgement or anything. And, you know, that's one thing that I've been doing, and I've been trying to make an effort to do this entire time we've been in quarantine. So
you definitely do a good job with it, Danielle. I know that constantly, like, you do a good job of inspiring people and of maintaining balance. Albeit sometimes I will admit I get jealous of the amount of balance that you're able to maintain down there riding horses while I'm stuck here in Chicago. That's I think my own personal problem. But I want to ask you, so in all this time that you're having, and in your experience as a salon owner and in the industry as a whole, if you're thinking about all those stylists that are out there, right, that have been out of work and they're getting ready now and getting prepared to get back into work, what should they be doing, like, to plan to prepare to get back into work? Is there something they should be doing now? Yeah. Or that's part of the question, I guess, is when should they start be preparing to get back into work, and what should that plan look like?
I think there's two parts to that question, Ammon. Like, I really feel like, because more than half of our country, I think, has already opened up and are proactively going back to work, I think it's being vulnerable and reaching out to those people, and reaching out and asking, like, what's working for you, what's not working for you, like, how bad is it to wear a mask every day, what are you doing to get by with it? Like, I've been not only reaching out to people, but I've been watching a lot of lives, watching a lot of feedback, and really trying to take in everything that people are saying. And, you know, if you haven't opened your doors yet, this is the time. I mean, I don't want to say consider yourself lucky, because there's two sides to that, right? There's the side that like, we're still sitting here going, we're dying to get back to the salon. But then there's the side that like, you're also saying, well, everyone else is going through the challenges and I can learn from that. And, you know, I think it's really important to like tune in right now, especially. I mean, it was on my post today, I'm not one to watch the news because it breaks my heart right now. But tune in to like what is happening right now, and like tune into your social media and the people that are in, you know, the front lines per se of hairdressing, and what is working for them and what challenges they're having, and what is like a piece of cake. And, you know, ask questions. And I don't think that, you know, I think that you need to start doing that now if you're not open. I think that there's, you know, prepare yourself as much as you possibly can, because this is such a different world and it's such a different time. And, you know, I know that people are willing to share the information. I've been digging for it left and right, and I haven't had to dig too deep. Like, it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there has been so much of what you said. It brings up a good point, right? Of get prepared, but also there's a lot, to your point, of the salons that have opened already and are doing services. And no, I don't think anybody loves wearing masks or gloves all the time and social distancing. But I do think that the sentiment has been very positive across the industry where we are opening, and people are extremely grateful to be connecting with their guests again. The guest is extremely appreciative of what the stylist brings to them. Like, I think there's a whole nother level of pride that a hairdresser can have now during this, coming out of this pandemic, because people really realize how much they value their hairstylists now that they haven't had them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Nick, so much. And I think that another part of like being prepared is also being prepared for the uncertainty, right? Because not only are we changing norm and we're changing protocol, but like we're dealing with a lot of fragile emotions right now. And, you know, we're dealing with like emotions from the COVID experience. We're dealing with emotions from what's going on right now in the world. And, you know, there's a lot of like, we've been all sitting in home for 2 months, almost 3 months. And, you know, there's a lot of like mental health going on. So like, you know, I guess it's more like, if somebody reacts or somebody's, you know, I've heard a couple stylists say, you know, I've had a couple of people like get weird when I wanted to take the temperature or wash their hands, or, you know, just remember humanity and love, and, you know, be kind, and just, you gotta kind of go, you know what, this is not a direct reflection, brush it off. It's not a direct reflection on you. You just have to like go, you know, everyone's going through things right now, and people might be in a very different place, you know, so recognizing that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. The other thing that comes to mind too is there's been this kind of this uncertainty about what if there is a resurgence? What if we have to like go back in quarantine? What advice do you give to a stylist now who's thinking about like maybe saving differently, right? Because there's some people that came out of this saying, you know what, I'm fortunate that I've taken some measures throughout my career to save appropriately, so I was able to get through this without feeling it so financially. And then there's others that are saying this has really hurt the pocketbook big time by not being able to work. What is some of your advice as people keep what may or may not happen in the back of their mind for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of what may or may not happen, like we have to all be smart, right? And because the way of the world right now and the entrepreneurship that's happening right now, like everyone's like their own brand, and, you know, we have to start really thinking about saving and investing. And, you know, I know that there's been a lot of buzz around the stock market, and like, all that as well. It's like a direct reflection of the economy and a direct reflection of what's happening in the world. But I still do believe in it, and I still do believe in the fact that, you know, if it's an intimidating thing for you, which it was for me as well, ask questions. Like, that's what these professionals do. Go to an investment group and have a consultation, or get on apps and start learning. There's apps out there, Acorn, Robinhood, E-Trade. There's a ton of apps out there that you can take pennies that you're, you know, accumulating in a day, and like small investing and learning at least how to even invest, and whether to invest in a stock or a mutual fund. And, you know, going through all these processes is only going to help you be able to understand a lot of the way that the world works as far as investments. It also is going to give you an empowerment and a sense of, you know, like pride in the money that you're making. And I really feel strongly about whether it's investing in the stock market, whether it's like talking to your banker and investing in something small, whether it's investing in like this whole new Bitcoin and all this other stuff that's happening, which I'm not actually privy to and I don't really understand it. But, you know, I've still, even though I don't understand it, I've still played with it because I'm like, I want to know. It's only power, you know, knowledge is power. And, you know, kind of what you guys were saying earlier, be the change that you want to see in the world. And like, that's been my message this whole last 3 months is, you know, get out there and educate yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it brings up a good point, and then clearly Ammon's cat really likes your advice
I'm
too.
so sorry, guys. I can't tell it. Like,
yes.
Little baby Stella. I'm like, what are you gonna do?
Cute.
She's like 13 weeks. She
a
might jump up on the computer at some point, so nobody be surprised. Live TV, so.
It's hysterical. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for being here with us and being authentic and being real and giving some good advice on how to really prepare and think about the future. And, you know, I think that's the one thing with this, our industry, we're creative, right? So I don't think thinking about the future and financially planning is something that always comes front of mind to us. So I think now making sure that it becomes front of mind and thinking about what's next, I think is really important. So it's great advice.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me so much.
Good to see you.
All right. Good to see you. Stay
Take
well.
care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Nick, it's always good to have Danielle on the show, huh?
It is. She's a hoot. I'll tell you. She does crack me up with how much she does and multitasks. And
I mean,
every time I'm on a call and I happen to notice that she's, you know, out there on a horse, I'm a little jealous. I gotta admit.
No, I know. I have to like refrain from getting actually like. There's this weird sort of like, I'm mad at you, but like I have no reason to be mad at you, and I'm just flat out jealous. The fact that I'm not out there grooming and riding horses.
She is one of the hardest working people I know. So exactly. If anything, she needs the break. How about it, right?
Totally. I think I'm just jealous because I want the break too, maybe. But yeah. Our next guest, I'm sure, could definitely just use the break just as much as Danielle or the rest of us. He works very, very hard. No stranger to the industry. I think last time I may have seen him in person, he was on a big stage and called me the George Clooney of hairdressing, which was not the worst thing that ever happened in my life. But I'd like to introduce the Global Creative Director for Living Proof, Mr. Michael Sean Corby, to the show. How are you, my friend?
Oh my God!
I had to sneak.
I am great, and I think it was George Clooney meets John Travolta. So
let's leave the John Travolta part out. Come on,
I like that. I'm feeling the Saturday Night Fever version.
Nick Stenson, Ryan Gosling. Do we have to like give everybody their own?
Go. Okay.
Okay, sure.
You win.
Thank you both for being a good sport on that one. So don't worry, I'll get you next year, Nick.
There you go. All right.
You know what? This episode is cool, and I'm really grateful that you were able to join us today, Michael. I wanted to ask you specifically, you're so involved. You're so involved. I think a lot of hairdressers that they get to the level that you're at. They're really good creatively, but you do a really good job of being involved with what the stylists are thinking and motivating and think about. I'm always constantly impressed. Even Nick and I, we have conversations. We're impressed about the thought process that you have behind the shows that you put together and being thoughtful about the messaging that you're trying to put out there. And so the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was, how do you think stylists are going to be able to elevate themselves during this time now that we have all of this technology that we're being forced to use? I knew she was coming. Hi, everybody, there's Stella.
With all the best intentions for technology.
Right.
So the question is, how can stylists elevate themselves and their business by using technology now that we are using it all the time?
Well, first of all, thank you both for your kind words. You know, I am a huge super fan of you both and Ulta, and it's just great to be here. Look, technology, I don't know how old y'all are or anyone else out there, but I reached 51 this year, so I'm over that hump. And
Wow,
there's
don't
a
look
lot
a day
of
over 30.
Right, thank you. Good Karen. Good Karen. But you know, there are things that were starting to miss me because I wasn't catching it, right? Like when I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, I was supposed to be all over this TikTok thing, but are either of you on that? Are you twerking online? Like I just
Don't.
No,
I can't.
you know what? I'm so glad you actually brought it up. I'm struggling with it.
I'm on it, but I can't do more than just. I'm like a troll on it. Like I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I just watch.
Yeah, so
I made a couple fun videos for the family, but I don't have the nerve to ever put them for the world to see.
I'm gonna need to see those. I'm sorry, but you know, it's one of those things. So because we were a little behind on that, because we were in the real world where people had actual cameras and actually developed their pictures and the whole concept of a dissolving photo, I was like, my old Jewish grandma came out and was like, no, why would you let a photo dissolve? We're going to keep it forever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was all weird. And so I had to catch up. And now I realize this is the time where I got to catch up, where I got out of having to be completely physically present for every single thing I did, and instead could build a social world and could connect that social world to my clients directly on a regular basis, right? And what I mean by this and how it's going to help us as we reopen is it seems like people are like, okay, the clients are coming in. How many are here? How far are they spaced apart? Is there plexi dividing them? So do you really want to spend 20 minutes in a consultation when time is of the essence there?
Yeah.
No. Or do you want to be Mr. or Mrs. Rush Job? Like, same thing we did 3 months ago? Amazing, right? Like nothing's changed in her life. So I think it's a great time to be like, let's connect before you come in. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Let's figure out if it's extensions. Let's figure out if it's highlights. And to me, this is a great idea, not only because she's really connecting with you personally, but also times are tough. And a lot of people are, you know, their own salon and you know, they just don't have the money. So you can order the things you need. You can keep the back room a little bit leaner. Like, I think this is the time when people can use that communication directly with the client to really build the best possible experience. And then my other point on, you know, the life of technology is get rid of cash. That money is dirty, right? So although we love it and, you know, Mr. Taxman or whatever, it's time for Venmo. Don't let it scare you. It's owned by PayPal. It corrects directly to your link, and it is easy. I'm sure the two of you do Venmo people like, oh, thanks for the memos.
Of course.
Beep, beep.
Yep.
Like, it's become the easiest thing, and it's yet one more step where we don't have to be putting our clients in risk, putting ourselves at risk. So for me, the big things, get in there. You don't have to TikTok, but you do need to Instagram. Build your brand. Have the communication with the clients you've always wanted. Let's have a pre-communication. If the appointments are tight, if we're even cutting things like blow drying in many cases, let's get in there. Let's figure out what we're going to do before it's an awkward situation in person. Let's really know. Let's get those supplies, and of course, cash free.
Yeah.
Transfer.
That was a really good point. And it leads me to another question. What about the guest who's like anxious and kind of nervous about coming back into the salon? What's some advice you give to the hairstylists on how they can reassure them, or how they can maybe have a pre-conversation? What is your thoughts around that?
Yeah, it's a good point. And the pre-conversation, that could certainly come up in the beginning in that consultation. Look, we all know we were in that place where we knew more about quaternary ammonium compound in parts per million than we did about how to do a non-crooked bang, right? Like there are people who I know they've got the clean thing down and they're not quite great cutters yet. With practice, we'll become perfect. And so let's let how clean we are show. Let's let them know that we have a degree in bacteriology, that we spent hours being clean, and let's bring it to the center. Like many salons, I'm sure some Ulta as well, that color mixing process, it's not the hidden thing it used to be. It's a bit more open, right? They don't know the exact mixture, but it's an open process of we're going to add this green and this highlight and this. So I think we have to take sanitation in that direction for two reasons. Not only is it's here, it's happening, and nobody has a choice, but it's also interactive and it's engaging. Participate in washing your hands together. Participate in that. Let her know that you are doing exactly what she is doing. And another sort of strange, I guess there are bad ideas in these kind of open talks. I was also thinking it might get to a point, we've all been somewhere where we're like, wow, you're going to use that brush again? And it's usually at a show, right? But you're like, I'm not sure I want that brush in my head. So there might come a time where we might want to sell the client her own stuff and somehow maintain it for her. And because I feel like if she takes it home, it might show up, here's the brush you sold me, and there might be 5 million hairs in it, and I'm not touching that. But I think there might be this happy medium of where we could create sort of a locker facility. It's branded, it's sanitized, and boom, hi Phyllis, here's Phyllis's bag, number 2230. Here we go, we're ready to go for you, and everyone feels clean. But I think we're gonna have to start thinking outside of the box as to how we stay clean, how we keep it fun, how we keep it fresh. If I can serve you a glass of wine, I can serve you a little hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
It's funny. It makes me think, the good news is we have plenty of brushes to sell you at Ulta. So that's one perk, right? The other part of it too is I'm really proud that even before COVID ever came into existence, we had a sanitation process in place where we literally, after the use of a brush, it goes into a bin that then gets sanitized before it gets used onto the next person. So I'm proud that we already took those steps, that it's not like you and I have been in the back room of a model room and been like, I got to use that brush again, right? It's a little different in the salons, thankfully,
Floor's
but that is good
dirty.
Advice.
It's giving me a throwback to back when I remember Nicholas French used to talk about how when he was assisting his father in his father's salon, how the clients used to come in and they used to have like a box with their roller sets and with their things, and they would come in and there was like the assistant would go over and pull their things, and that was the stuff that they would use in their hair and nobody else's. It's kind of interesting. It would be kind of a cool full circle if that was indeed the way that the world kind of operated.
Like luxury restaurants where they've got your bottles and their cellar. Like it doesn't have to be some sort of tacky thing either, right? It could be actually luxurious and clean and safe. And I think that's the way all of our minds are going, is like, I'm looking out for you and I'm looking out for me, and it's a respect issue. And I think the more we get it out in the open, the less they will feel judged, the less they will feel demanded to do so, and the quicker we can move on to what will hopefully become a new normal that is much closer to the old normal.
Talk to me really quickly about, and I'm sure there's a kind of a quick answer to this, but like I know that right now a lot of clients are probably going to be looking for services that will last them maybe a longer period of time. They maybe hardship, maybe they don't have jobs right now, maybe they're insecure about their income. But what are some of the things that stylists can do right now to help extend that period between salon visits?
One thing I think you can do is, especially if there is a limitation, I don't know if you guys are getting that from Ulta salons as well about the blow drying. I think that we're going to have to start building shapes, building cuts that are meant to last and that are meant to air dry. Because God forbid you're sending something out, you have no idea how it's going to look finished. So I've been trying to think about this. Like, is there a way to maybe start a bit dry, completely shampoo, do a wet cut, as opposed to I'm used to we start wet, we finish dry. We might have to start working in reverse some way like that. We all love a good ombre, but it might be the time to say, hey, is there a highlight I can do that starts out as a traditional scalp to ends highlight, but grows out more like an ombre? And that might be something we have to consider as well. And also, good color should grow out, not fall out. But we know some of our clients get in there and they're like, so get a good dry shampoo. I mean, Living Proof, we happen to make the #1 in the world dry shampoo, but like get in there. Well, shameless at times. But like the deal is give your hair a break, right? Like at Living Proof, we've had challenges of like, how long can you go? Not how low can you go? And how long can you go without shampooing your hair? We've gone weeks. Some, I think, went a month. What I'm saying is we all know some of those molecules, those red molecules, those highlight molecules, they're small, they fall out quickly, and then you're feeling more in need and a bit brassy. So those would be my big 3 things about what you can do. Wash and wear cuts, highlights that are smart, that this all might start again, and stop shampooing every single day or every other day. Give your hair a break.
Preach.
Yeah. I'll tell you, great education, great tips. And, that makes me think, you're an educator. We're both educators here. And we all know how important live one-on-one education is, right? There's nothing like it. But in this new normal that we're in, digital education may be the way that we need to, kind of bridge the education world between the stylist and the educator. What does that look like for you?
Well, what it looks like is nobody's doing it. Nobody does it better. What you guys are doing right now is so beautiful, so slick. I hate you a little bit. I want it. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
Grabbed it by the horns and you're making it work at the level of like some of these extraordinary Ulta shows that I've seen with like rafters and violins and like, so you were keeping your level of education. And I think to educators, as long as you keep the level of education and you keep the content flowing and you keep it clear and you watch out for your technical difficulties, nobody wants to watch 30 minutes of The Blob, right? With hearts all over it called education. That's I'm going to tune out. Sorry. So what I think people are doing it right. We're all pivoting. And what I see is a great opportunity because we all have parent companies, we all have bosses. And when we can show you that we can come in under budget to a show with 100 models and with maybe not everybody does 100 models, but I tend to.
I was like, be careful.
Right.
That's my boss on the phone.
Without the teams, without that. I'm not saying that goes away forever, but I'm saying right now, let's celebrate the opportunity that without the cost of the shoot, the this, the that, we, instead of 2 collections a year, can I have 4, boss? Right? Can I do 6 things? Can I completely keep reinventing as we go along? I think yes. So I think the good thing for us is, will we get on stages again? Yes. Will we do those shows again? Yes, because the show must go on. But for the time being, what I'm trying to do at least is harness more collections, more new content that doesn't have all the stuff, right? Even my own brand said, just do it. Just, right? But you work for a large company, was just do it a thing when it had these multi-hundreds, thousands of dollars budgets behind her, or was it, let's just do this twice? So I'm thinking you can do a lot more right now. There's a lot of education out there. Yeah, you're going to be looking at a lot of mannequin heads. We apologize in advance. Will those transition to real heads eventually? But I think it's an exciting time for us to be able to create more collections per year.
I could
really
agree
well
more.
said. Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, I'm like, it's so funny.
Really?
They're making me laugh. I'm like, yeah, like wanting to do more with less. That's literally Nick's motto. No, but it's what you said resonates so true. You know, we have an opportunity right now to flip the way that we're doing things and the way we're mentally thinking about the way that we have to do things. It kind of helps us take a spin and go, okay, so are all those things that we were doing necessary, or were we just doing them because it was just kind of what we were doing? We were on a spin cycle almost, right? And like the spin cycle has been forced to stop. And so now you take like you kind of like do a little evaluation and you go, what parts of that would help? You know, if I pull some things out of the dryer, maybe the clothes that are in the dryer get dried faster. That was the stupidest metaphor I've ever used, but you get what I'm saying.
I'll make fun of you later on that one.
I love that you guys are going to do that.
It makes you. That was so. I can't. Don't ever. Let's like, you know, forget that.
I'm gonna throw you in the dryer if you don't spit out your thought.
No, I think that you start to prioritize what's needed, right? You start to prioritize. You know, people need inspiration and education, but in a realm where you can't just give them all those things that you had before, you are forced to, as leaders, whittle it down and choose and say, here's what you actually need to be successful in your career. And at the end of the day, I know that the three of us wholeheartedly, that's what we want to give them. And that comes very, very clearly with your passion and with your commitment to the industry, Michael. And so thank you so much for being on the show today with us. I know that Nick and I have been looking forward to this for a long time. You're a funny guy, but also very, very knowledgeable. I'm going to find a better analogy or metaphor for it next time that we're together.
He's going to go work on his analogy game before he sees you again.
Here comes the spin cycle jokes are going to be crazy. I get it already. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to see you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you, my friend.
All right. Take care. Oh, Ammon, you're just
I'll have nothing.
today,
I'll
aren't
have
you?
No more. I don't want to do any more.
No more. Are you actually done for the day with your analogy?
My laundry metaphor. Now everybody has a sneak peek into how I do my laundry. I'm like,
there you go. Perfect. All right. How about a sneak peek into what Wednesday's episode is going to look like?
It's probably better. So, on Wednesday, we have an episode that's going to be about skincare and makeup, and it's going to be called No Filter Needed. And it's going to be featuring Pro Team member David Lopez and one of our design team members, Megan Felicione. So you won't want to miss that because they're going to talk to you about getting that beautiful, flawless finish that doesn't require a filter that you're using on all of your telephones or apps or whatever.
Very good. Well, I'm bummed out. I'm going to miss it on Wednesday. I have a scheduling conflict, so you guys have fun without me. But I will be
watch
back.
Out.
Watch out. Here come. He's going to have a lot of metaphors for you guys on Wednesday. Don't worry. But until then, have a great week, everyone. Remember, respect each other. Stay safe. No hate, just love. And have a wonderful evening. Take care.